begin. So thank you, Anne, for being here and making time to practice together. I actually just wanted for us to take some moments to check in with each other, because I know for me, a lot have been happening, especially in the world with what's been going on with Ukraine and Russia and things like that. And the challenges of, life presenting to me. I just thought I wanted to create space for us to maybe share what might be in your heart and mind before we kind of go into our practice today.
Well, I've shared kind of what the main things have been in the last few hours, but for sure, I'm very upset about the war and the potential it has for really changing the lives that we have now, and not in a good way. And yeah, I guess I this morning I had to do some stuff with the lawyer around Mom's estate, and that was fine. I walked up there, got all this stuff done, and that was great. And then afterwards I came home and had a little bite to eat, and I suddenly just felt completely exhausted. Just like that little bit of work on it, I guess. Oh, and also I had a dream about my mom in the morning right before I woke up. That was sort of like I was going around telling people, well, she's not, I know you see her there, but she's not really here. She died. And people were looking at me like, okay, she's dead, but she's still here. And I was like, yeah, she just hasn't faded away yet. Wow. So I had this sort of push me, pull you thing of part of me behaving as though and wanting her to be still here, and part of me going, that's not real. You have to come to terms with this. And there were a ton of problems for me to solve. So those things together, by the time 12 o'clock came around, I was completely exhausted. So I lay down on my bed and I didn't do anything except pet the cat. And I really felt very low when I came up here to play. But the great thing about playing music is that it just takes you right out of your brain. You're using some completely other place in your brain that has nothing to do with what your thought process is. So it's always really a relief in a way. So now I feel kind of relieved, and relieved that you're doing well. So that's where I'm at. Where are you?
Thanks for sharing, Anne. I think for me, just really briefly, I feel super impacted by, things going on in Ukraine. And I feel like a little bit of helplessness as well.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I thought I'd do today, instead of, continuing with the original plan I had, I thought I would veer away and do a Tonglen practice. And I mean, and because I'm doing this as a recording for the others who might benefit from sitting on their own. Whenever Tonglen in Tibetan, means giving and receiving, and it's a powerful practice of compassion, not just for yourself, but also for other people. And I find this practice particularly helpful in those times when I feel helpless. There's this kind of longing to want to do something, but there's nothing you can do because, you're reading about it in the news, or it's a situation that you're just not able to intervene. but
Mhm.
rather than shrug off, that grief or the love that has been stirred up, just allowing myself to be vulnerable and using this moment as an opportunity to just go deeper in my heart and connect to the realization that all beings everywhere is suffering, not just me, but not just folks in Ukraine, but like we were talking earlier, well, I was talking to Jenny earlier, that there's suffering everywhere, Tibet, China, Africa, right? Ukraine right now. Um, and this practice of Tonglen allows us to be able to direct that compassion or that realization that all beings are suffering, and to evoke the blessings of our ancestors and divine beings that we feel aligned with, evoke their blessings and help direct all of it towards the alleviation of the suffering everywhere. So that's why I
Mhm.
kind of thought maybe today, we can do a Tonglen practice instead of our usual meditation, following the breath piece. So if you're okay with that, and I'm going to invite you to either be on video or turning it off if you're more comfortable, whatever works for you. And I'm just going to invite us to begin with a straight back, being comfortable, whether we are seated or lying, just as long as we have the ability to stay alert and at ease. And if you wish, you can close your eyes for this practice. And we can begin by taking 3 deep breaths together, just as a way of beginning to settle our minds. So breathing in, breathing out, breathing in and breathing out. One more in breath and breathing out. So sitting with your mind right now, just begin to feel or notice its mood. If you feel your mood is uneasy or the environment around you feels dark, then as you breathe in, just mentally absorb whatever is dark or unwholesome, imagining them as dark clouds. And as you breathe out, mentally give out calm, clarity, and joy in the form of radiant golden light. So breathing in dark clouds and breathing out, imagining clarity and joy and calmness in the form of radiant golden light. In this way, you're healing the environment of your mind. And doing this on your own for a few rounds. Breathing in anything that feels stuck or uneasy, and breathing out radiant, warm, golden light. Let's start with first also evoking our own basic goodness by recalling a moment when you have been kind. Maybe a nice thing you did for someone, maybe a warm smile to a stranger, listening to a friend, encouraging somebody who's having a hard time, making a meal for your partner or your family. Just recall the moment the details, or just the memory of that incident. And allow yourself to dwell in that feeling of positivity from having done something kind for someone else. And as you're dwelling in this memory, it's allowing yourself to remember your capacity for compassion and kindness. Then bring to mind the presence of all enlightened beings. They could be ancestors, divine beings you call upon in times of need, people in your circle of care that have shown you kindness and compassion, just folks or beings that in your mind and heart you relate to as enlightened. And as you summon and invoke their presence, imagine that through their compassion, inspiration, and blessing, that compassion arises in your own heart. Now imagine in front of you as vividly as you can, someone that you care for, someone whom you might be close to, someone you know who is suffering. So bring that image, the image of that person in front of you. And try and imagine every aspect of their pain and distress. Imagining what it might be like for them going through this particular difficult situation. Maybe it's something that they've been battling for a long time. Maybe it's something new that's happening for them that they're suffering and finding a lot of pain in. Just imagine all the different aspects of their pain and distress. And as you're imagining that, feel your heart opening in compassion towards that person. Imagining that all of their sufferings manifesting together and gathering into a great mass of hot, black, grimy smoke. And as you breathe in, visualize this mass of black smoke dissolving with your in-breath. And as you breathe out, imagine that your enlightened heart of compassion is revealed and a rays of brilliant cooling light of peace and well-being is radiating out to your friend in pain. And all these rays are purifying or alleviating their suffering. Imagine your whole being transformed into this wish-fulfilling, dazzling jewel. The jewel that can grant the desires and wishes of anyone and provide exactly what they long for and need. Imagine these rays of brilliant light from your being as having the power to alleviate your friend's suffering and have conviction that they are freed from their pain, distress, and suffering. So keep the practice of breathing in the suffering and pain of your friend, visualizing it as dark, grimy smoke. And as you breathe out, rays of brilliant light of peace and well-being radiating out to them, alleviating them of their suffering. Breathing in the suffering and pain of your friend in the form of dark, grimy smoke, and breathing out rays of brilliant, warm light of peace and well-being. Breathing in the suffering and pain of your friend, visualizing as dark, grimy smoke, and breathing out, imagining rays of brilliant light of peace and well-being, relieving them of their suffering and pain. Now bring into your mind people in your family, your neighborhood, people you might know well, not so well, people within your immediate community, your extended community, bringing into mind all the people in the different counties nearby, people in the entire state that you're in right now, all people in the US, different continents, all people where there is immense suffering, Ukraine, Russia, Europe, Africa, Tibet, China, Southeast Asia, all peoples. And as you breathe in, imagine taking on the collective suffering in this form of dark, grimy smoke. And as you breathe out, imagine this wish fulfilling jewel in your heart, this enlightened heart of compassion revealed and rays of brilliant cooling light of peace and well-being radiating out to the collective who are suffering. Breathing in the anxiety, the overwhelm, the fear, loss, pain, and imagining from your heart rays of brilliant, cooling light of peace and well-being, purifying and alleviating their suffering. As you breathe in, imagine taking on the collective suffering in the form of dark, grimy smoke. And as you breathe out, imagine this radiant rays of light extending to all corners of the world where there is suffering, relieving all people of their pain and suffering. of their fear, anxiety, and overwhelm. Breathing in the collective suffering in the form of dark, grimy, black smoke. And breathing out, extending to all corners of the world where there is suffering and pain, rays of brilliant light of peace and well-being, alleviating all people of their suffering, overwhelm, loss, grief, and imagining well-being and peace in their hearts and minds. Then gradually letting go of your meditation, dissolving any visualization, just resting in this space. And I'll just like to end with this prayer from St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, and it's in pardoning that we are pardoned. So thank you again for being here, and may we all be instruments of peace. Thanks, Anne. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I hope the rest of your day goes well.
Yours as well. I'll see
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.